Imagine walking through an ancient forest at midnight. Beneath your boots, a silent, invisible network is breathing. It's not a plant, and it's certainly not an animal, but it's more like you than you might ever guess. It breathes oxygen, exhales carbon dioxide, and builds its body out of chitin, the same material found in the shells of crabs and the armor of beetles. We often walk right past them, the silent architects of our world. But mushrooms aren't just strange shapes popping up after a rainstorm. They are the internet of the earth, the keepers of life's greatest secrets, and the only organisms that can turn a nuclear wasteland into a thriving garden. From giants that outweigh blue whales to zombie fungi that can hijack the minds of insects, we are about to enter a kingdom that defies everything you thought you knew about biology. Are you ready to see the world through the eyes of the mycelium? Before we dive deep into the soil, if you're a fan of uncovering the hidden wonders of our planet, hit that subscribe button and join our community of curious minds. It really helps us keep these explorations going. Also, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments. I'd love to see how far our fungal network reaches tonight. When you look at a mushroom, you probably see a vegetable, something that belongs on a pizza or in a salad, tucked away in the produce aisle next to the kale and the carrots. But science tells a much more startling story, one that blurs the lines of our own identity. At a fundamental genetic level, mushrooms are more closely related to humans than they are to any plant in the forest. Millions of years ago, life on Earth reached a fork in the road. One path led to the plants, which learned to eat sunlight through photosynthesis. The other path led to an ancestor that eventually split into two kingdoms, animals and fungi. This shared heritage means that, in the grand family tree of life, mushrooms are essentially our distant cousins. Have you ever wondered why mushrooms don't have leaves or seeds? It's because they don't make their own food from the sun. Like us, they have to find it, digest it, and absorb it. They are heterotrophs, just like you and me. When we look at a mushroom, we aren't looking at a primitive weed. We're looking at a biological relative that breathes the same air and shares a common history written in our DNA. It's a realization that changes the way you look at the forest floor. It's not just a collection of plants. It's a family reunion happening in the shadows. The similarities go much deeper than just a branch on a family tree. They are etched into the very chemistry of their skin and ours. Think about a tree or a blade of grass. Those are made of cellulose. But if you were to zoom in on the cellular walls of a mushroom, you wouldn't find cellulose at all. Instead, you'd find chitin. This is the exact same fibrous substance that makes up the hard outer shells of lobsters, crabs, and beetles. It's the same material that forms the beaks of squids. Evolution found a winning formula in chitin. It's durable, flexible, and resilient, and decided to use it for both the fungi kingdom and the animal kingdom. This is why a mushroom has that unique, meaty texture when you bite into it. It's also why they are so incredibly tough. While a plant wilts when it loses water, the chitinous walls of a fungus allow it to maintain its structure and even exert incredible physical force. There have been cases where mushrooms have literally pushed through asphalt and cracked concrete pavements just to reach the surface. It makes you realize that these organisms are far more animal-like in their physical toughness than we ever gave them credit for. They aren't just sitting there. They are structural marvels built from the same armor as the creatures of the sea. If you needed more proof of our kinship, you only need to look at how a mushroom breathes. While the trees surrounding them are busy inhaling carbon dioxide and pumping out oxygen, mushrooms are doing the exact opposite. They breathe just like humans do. They take in oxygen from the environment and exhale carbon dioxide as a waste product. This is why, in a dense forest, the air near the ground is often richer in CO2. The fungi are literally exhaling into the soil. But the connection doesn't stop at respiration. It extends to how they protect themselves from the sun. We often think of tanning as a human experience, but mushrooms produce melanin, the same pigment that gives human skin its color and protects us from ultraviolet radiation. When certain mushrooms are exposed to sunlight, they actually increase their vitamin D content, much like our bodies do when we spend a day at the beach. In fact, if you leave a store-bought portobello mushroom in the sun for a few hours, its vitamin D levels can skyrocket. It's almost as if they are biological mirrors of our own systems, performing the same chemical dances to survive in a world that can often be harsh and unforgiving. Beyond the physical and chemical, there is a nervous system of sorts that makes fungi feel eerily intelligent. While they don't have brains in the way we do, they possess a vast network of mycelium, a web of fungal threads that can extend for miles. This network functions remarkably like the neural pathways in a human brain. They use electrical impulses and chemical signals to communicate across vast distances, deciding where to grow, where to find food, and how to avoid threats. When a fungus finds a source of nutrients, it sends a signal back to the rest of the organism to move in that direction. If it encounters a toxin, it warns the rest of the network to stay away. This ability to process information and react to the environment is a hallmark of complex life. It's not just mindless growth. It's a calculated, rhythmic expansion. When you see a mushroom pop up on your lawn, you are only seeing the fruit of a massive, intelligent underground body that has been thinking and moving long before you noticed it. It forces us to ask, what is intelligence really? Does it require a skull and a brain, or can it exist in a sprawling golden web beneath our feet? This shared biological foundation is why mushrooms have such a profound effect on the human body, both for better and for worse. Because our cellular structures are so similar, the keys that mushrooms use to unlock biological doors often fit into human locks perfectly. This is why some mushrooms can provide us with life-saving medicines like penicillin, which was derived from a fungus, or why others can have profound effects on our nervous system. But it's also the reason why fungal infections are so notoriously difficult for doctors to treat. Because we are so closely related, a chemical that kills a fungus often risks harming the human host as well. We are, in a sense, made of the same stuff. As we move forward in this journey, remember that we aren't just studying an alien life form. We are studying a mirror of ourselves, a version of life that stayed in the dark, perfected the art of recycling, and became the silent foundation upon which all other life on land is built. Without our fungal cousins, the world as we know it simply ceased to exist. They are the beginning and the end of the story of life, and we are just now starting to listen to what they have to say. If you were to peel back the top layer of soil in almost any forest on Earth, you wouldn't just find dirt and roots. You would find one of the most complex communication systems ever engineered by nature. This is the mycorrhizal network, often dubbed the Wood Wide Web. It is a vast, subterranean lattice of fungal threads called hyphae that wrap around the roots of trees, creating a biological bridge between different species. This isn't just a random tangle. It is a sophisticated data highway. Through this network, trees don't just stand side by side in competition. They actually talk to one another. They share vital information about drought, shadow, and disease. Using a combination of electrical impulses and chemical signals, the fungus acts as the fiber optic cable of the forest floor, allowing a willow to know what is happening to a pine 50 yards away. It's a level of social intelligence that we used to think was reserved for the animal kingdom, but it's been happening in total silence beneath our feet for hundreds of millions of years. The relationship between the fungus and the tree is built on a foundation of mutual survival, a masterclass in biological trade. Trees are masters of the sky. They use photosynthesis to turn sunlight into sugar. But trees are often starving for minerals like phosphorus and nitrogen that are locked away in the soil. Fungi, on the other hand, are masters of the earth. Their mycelium is so thin and expansive, covering a surface area thousands of times greater than a tree's root system, that they can mine minerals with surgical precision. And so, a deal is struck. The tree pumps up to 30% of its sugar production down into the fungal network, and in exchange, the fungus delivers a steady stream of water and life-sustaining minerals back to the tree. This isn't just a simple swap. It's a global economy. In times of abundance, the network can even store these nutrients, acting like a biological bank account that the forest can draw upon when the seasons turn lean. Perhaps the most touching aspect of this underground society is the existence of mother trees. These are the oldest, largest trees in the forest, and they serve as the central hubs of the wood wide web. Research has shown that these matriarchs use the fungal network to recognize their own kin. When a mother tree is thriving, she will actually send excess sugar through the mycelium specifically to the smaller saplings growing in her shadow, ensuring they have enough energy to survive until they can reach the sunlight themselves. If a mother tree is dying, she may even perform a final information dump, releasing her stored nutrients and chemical wisdom into the network to benefit the next generation. It turns the forest from a collection of individuals into a single, massive cooperative organism. It's a reminder that even in the wild, the strongest survive not just by competing, but by nurturing those around them. But the Wood Wide Web isn't just about charity. It's also a sophisticated defense system. When a tree is attacked by beetles or aphids, it releases specific chemical distress signals into the fungal network. These signals travel through the mycelium to neighboring trees, acting like a biological alarm bell. Upon receiving the warning, the healthy trees will begin to produce bitter toxins or defensive enzymes in their leaves before the pests even reach them. They are essentially vaccinating themselves against an incoming threat based on information provided by the fungus. However, where there is a network, there are also hackers. Some species of orchids have evolved to tap into these lines, fishing for nutrients without giving anything back in return. Even in the ancient world of fungi, the battle for information and resources involves both incredible cooperation and clever deception. Understanding the Wood Wide Web changes our entire approach to conservation and ecology. We used to think that to save a forest, you just had to stop the trees from being cut down. Now we know that the health of the trees is entirely dependent on the health of the invisible fungal circulatory system beneath them. If the soil is tilled or heavily chemically treated, these delicate threads break and the trees become isolated, weak, and more susceptible to disease. It's a profound lesson in connectivity. You cannot have the giant soaring canopy without the humble, microscopic web. As we look at the challenges facing our planet today, the Wood Wide Web serves as a blueprint for resilience. It shows us that survival is a team sport and that the most powerful systems on Earth are often the ones we cannot see. If you were to wander deep into the humid forests of Brazil or the subtropical woodlands of Japan after the sun has set, you might witness something that feels like a scene pulled directly from a fantasy novel. In the pitch black, the forest floor begins to shimmer with an eerie, ethereal green light. This isn't a trick of the light or a reflection of the moon. It is the phenomenon of bioluminescence. Over 70 species of mushrooms have the incredible ability to produce their own light, turning the dark undergrowth into a glowing gallery of natural lanterns. From the famous ghost fungus of Australia to the delicate foxfire of the Appalachian Mountains, these fungi fascinated humans for millennia. Ancient sailors used to use glowing pieces of wood infected with fungal mycelium to light their way through dark passages, and forest travelers would leave trails of glowing mushrooms to find their way back to camp. But for the mushroom, this light isn't for decoration, it's a sophisticated biological tool. The chemistry behind this living light is a masterpiece of natural engineering. It involves a molecule called luciferin and an enzyme called luciferase. When the mushroom combines these two elements with oxygen, A chemical reaction occurs that releases energy in the form of cold light, meaning it produces almost no heat. If a light bulb were as efficient as a bioluminescent mushroom, it would never get hot to the touch. Scientists have recently discovered that this process in fungi is remarkably similar to the way fireflies glow, yet it evolved entirely independently. What's even more fascinating is that in many species, it's not just the mushroom cap that glows. The underground mycelium can also emit a soft, constant light. This creates glowing soil that can make entire sections of the forest floor pulse with a ghostly radiance, a silent chemical heartbeat that persists through the darkest hours of the night. But why spend precious energy to glow in the dark? In the natural world, nothing is done without a purpose. For many mushrooms, the glow serves as a beacon for the night shift of the insect world. While many plants rely on wind or birds to spread their seeds, mushrooms need to distribute their spores. By glowing in the dark, they attract nocturnal beetles, flies, and ants. These insects crawl over the glowing gills, inadvertently coating themselves in millions of microscopic spores. As the insects move through the forest, they act as tiny couriers, depositing the spores in new locations where the fungus can start a new colony. It is a brilliant evolutionary strategy. In the stillness of a windless night, the mushroom uses light to command the movement of the animal kingdom, ensuring its lineage continues for another generation. Interestingly, the intensity of this light isn't always constant. It follows a biological clock. Just as humans have a circadian rhythm that tells us when to sleep, bioluminescent mushrooms have internal sensors that track the time of day. They don't waste energy glowing when the sun is up and the light wouldn't be visible. Instead, as the ambient light fades, the mushroom's chemical factory kicks into high gear, reaching peak brightness in the middle of the night when the contrast against the darkness is greatest. This level of environmental awareness is staggering for an organism without a brain. It shows a deep, rhythmic connection to the rotation of the Earth itself, a silent coordination between the cosmos and the chemistry of the soil. The study of these glowing wonders is opening up incredible possibilities for the future of human technology. Imagine a world where we don't need electricity to light our streets. Researchers are currently working on splicing the bioluminescent genes of mushrooms into the DNA of trees and ornamental plants. The goal is to create living streetlights, trees that glow softly at night, providing enough light for pedestrians to navigate without the need for power grids or light pollution. We are also using these fungal enzymes in medical research to light up specific cells within the human body, allowing doctors to track the progress of diseases or the effectiveness of new drugs in real time. The humble glowing mushroom, once a source of superstition and folklore, may very well be the key to a more sustainable and enlightened future for humanity. When we think of the largest living things on Earth, our minds immediately go to the blue whale gliding through the deep ocean, or perhaps the towering redwood trees of California. But if you want to find the true heavyweight champion of the biological world, you have to look down at your feet in the Malheur National Forest in Oregon. There, hidden beneath the soil, lives a single specimen of Armillaria astoi, commonly known as the honey fungus. This isn't just a large patch of mushrooms. It is one individual organism that spans over 2,400 acres, roughly the size of 1,600 football fields. It has been slowly creeping through the earth for at least 2,400 years, though some scientists estimate it could be as old as 8,000 years. This massive entity challenges our very definition of what an individual being is. It isn't a colony or a family. It is a single, continuous genetic identity that has survived since the time of ancient civilizations, silently expanding its empire through the dark, damp roots of the Pacific Northwest. The sheer scale of this organism is difficult to wrap the human mind around. Imagine a web of black shoestring-like structures called rhizomorphs stretching across miles of mountainous terrain. While the mushrooms we see on the surface are just the tiny, temporary reproductive organs that pop up in the autumn, the true body of the fungus is a massive underground network of mycelium. If you could somehow weigh the entire thing, estimates suggest it would clock in at over 35,000 tons, making it significantly heavier than any whale or forest of trees. It moves with a slow, patient persistence, growing at a rate of only a few feet per year. Yet, because it is so large and so well integrated into the environment, it is effectively immortal. As long as there is wood to consume and soil to provide moisture, this humongous fungus will continue to claim more territory, a silent titan reigning over a kingdom that doesn't even know it's there. However, being the largest organism on Earth comes with a bit of a dark side. The honey fungus is a necrotrophic parasite, which is a fancy way of saying it kills its host and then feeds on the remains. It seeks out the roots of trees, particularly conifers, and wraps its rhizomorphs around them like a slow-motion stranglehold. Once it gains entry, it bypasses the tree's immune system and begins to decay the wood from the inside out. In the Malheur National Forest, you can see the evidence of its presence in large dieback areas where circles of trees have withered and died. It's a chilling thought, a single giant predator creeping through the darkness, claiming lives one root at a time. But in the grand design of the forest, this isn't evil. By clearing out older or weaker trees, the fungus creates gaps in the canopy, allowing sunlight to reach the forest floor and making room for new life to grow. It is the forest's own version of creative destruction. What makes this giant truly fascinating to scientists is how it maintains itself over such a massive distance. How does a cell on one side of a mountain know it is part of the same individual as a cell 3 miles away? The honey fungus possesses an incredible level of genetic stability. Most organisms experience mutations as they grow and age, but the Armillaria has developed a way to keep its DNA remarkably consistent across its entire 2,400-acre body. It's as if the fungus has a biological master copy of its blueprint that it refers to constantly. This stability allows it to function as a unified whole, coordinating its growth and nutrient transport with surgical efficiency. It's a feat of biological management that puts our most advanced human logistics systems to shame, proving that you don't need a centralized brain to run a continental-scale operation. The discovery of the humongous fungus has completely shifted our perspective on the limits of life. It reminds us that the most powerful forces on our planet are often the ones that operate in silence and invisibility. We live in a world of micro and macro, but the fungus exists in both simultaneously. It is made of microscopic threads, yet it is larger than a city. As we study this ancient giant, we are learning more about how life manages energy, how it survives for millennia, and how it balances the roles of predator and sustainer. The next time you walk through a quiet forest, take a moment to consider what might be moving beneath your boots. You might be standing on the back of a giant that was born before the Roman Empire was even a dream, and it's still growing, still breathing, and still watching the world from the safety of the soil. While much of the fungal kingdom is dedicated to healing and recycling, there is a corner of this world that feels like it was ripped straight from a horror movie. Enter the genus Cordyceps, more commonly known as the zombie ant fungus. This is not a metaphor. It is a literal hijacking of another creature's free will. When a microscopic spore of this fungus lands on a carpenter ant in the rainforests of Brazil or Thailand, it doesn't just kill the insect. It penetrates the ant's exoskeleton and begins to grow through its body, avoiding the vital organs to keep the host alive. But the most terrifying part happens when the fungus reaches the ant's nervous system. It doesn't enter the brain, but instead weaves itself around the ant's muscles, taking control of its limbs like a puppeteer pulling the strings of a marionette. The ant is still there, but it is no longer in the driver's seat of its own body. Once the fungus has assumed control, it forces the zombie ant to perform a very specific ritualistic series of actions. The ant is driven to leave its colony, where it would normally be safe, and climb exactly 25 centimeters up a nearby plant. This isn't a random height. It is the precise microclimate where the temperature and humidity are perfect for the fungus to grow. Once there, the fungus compels the ant to bite down with a death grip on the central vein of a leaf. The ant's jaw muscles are then chemically locked in place so it can never let go. Having secured its position, the fungus finally kills the host. A long stalk-like fruiting body then erupts from the back of the ant's head, eventually bursting to rain spores down onto the forest floor below, targeting the ant's unsuspecting sisters as they pass by. It is a cycle of calculated, biological precision that is as brilliant as it is gruesome. You might wonder how a simple fungus can possess such complex tactical knowledge. Scientists have discovered that cordyceps is a master chemist. It secretes a cocktail of mind-altering compounds that are species-specific. A fungus that controls one type of ant cannot control another. It has evolved the exact chemical key to fit the lock of its specific host's biology. Recent studies suggest that the fungus may even use a form of biological clock to ensure the ant reaches its final destination at high noon, when the sun's position and the forest's moisture levels are at their most advantageous. It's a chilling reminder that intelligence doesn't always require a central nervous system. Sometimes, intelligence is a chemical script written over millions of years of evolutionary warfare. But ants aren't the only victims of these fungal puppeteers. The world of entomopathogenic fungi that kill insects is vast and varied. There are species that target cicadas, replacing their lower abdomens with a salt shaker of spores. The infected cicadas, driven by the fungus, continue to fly and attempt to mate with as many others as possible, spreading the fungal infection through physical contact like a biological wildfire. There are others that target flies, forcing them to climb to high points and strike a calling pose to attract other flies before they die. In every case, the fungus uses the host's own instincts against it. It turns the host's social and reproductive drives into a delivery system for its own offspring. It makes us pause and consider the nature of will. If a fungus can dictate the actions of an animal so completely, where does the individual end and the parasite begin? Despite the nightmarish nature of these zombie fungi, they play a vital role in maintaining the balance of the ecosystem. In a tropical rainforest, a single species of ant could easily overpopulate and dominate the environment, wiping out other insects and plants. Fungi like cordyceps act as a natural check and balance system. They prevent any one species from becoming too successful, ensuring biodiversity thrives. Furthermore, these villains of the insect world might be the heroes of our future medicine. Researchers are studying the chemical compounds used by cordyceps to see if they can be adapted to treat human diseases, including cancer and organ transplant rejection. The very chemicals that allow a fungus to hijack an ant's body might one day be the keys to saving human lives. It is the ultimate irony of the fungal kingdom. Life, death, and healing are often twisted together in the very same thread. In the spring of 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant became the site of the worst nuclear disaster in human history. The surrounding area was saturated with lethal levels of radiation, turning the red forest into a wasteland where most life withered and died. However, years later, when robotic rovers were sent into the heart of the highly radioactive Reactor 4, they found something impossible. Clinging to the cracked, steaming walls of the primary containment vessel was a thick, black mold. These weren't just surviving, they were thriving. Scientists identified them as radiotrophic fungi, organisms that didn't just tolerate radiation but actually ate it. It was a discovery that challenged our understanding of how life adapts to extreme environments. While humans and most animals die because radiation shreds our DNA, These mushrooms seem to look at a nuclear meltdown as an all-you-can-eat buffet. The secret to this incredible survival skill lies in a familiar pigment, melanin. This is the same substance that gives human skin its color and protects us from UV rays, but in these mushrooms, it serves a much more radical purpose. In a process called radiosynthesis, the fungi use melanin to capture ionizing radiation and convert it into chemical energy for growth. Just as green plants use chlorophyll to turn sunlight into food, these black fungi use melanin to turn deadly gamma rays into fuel. They are essentially biological solar panels for the high-energy spectrum. This allows them to colonize places that are otherwise sterile, turning the most toxic environments on Earth into a private sanctuary where they have zero competition for space or resources. This superpower has massive implications for the future of human exploration, particularly in our quest to reach the stars. Space is a hostile vacuum filled with cosmic radiation that would eventually kill a human crew on a long-duration mission to Mars. But what if we could use these mushrooms as a shield? NASA researchers have experimented with sending samples of these radiotrophic fungi to the International Space Station. The results were staggering. A thin layer of the fungus could significantly reduce radiation levels. In the future, we might not build Mars habitats out of heavy lead or thick steel. Instead, we might grow our radiation shields out of fungal mycelium that heals itself, grows thicker where the radiation is strongest, and provides a living, breathing barrier between us and the void of space. Closer to home, these mushrooms are being looked at as the ultimate janitors for our own nuclear mistakes. The process of mycoremediation, using fungi to clean up the environment, is being tested at various contaminated sites around the world. Because fungi are masters of absorption, they can pull heavy metals and radioactive isotopes like cesium-137 and strontium-90 out of the soil and concentrate them in their fruiting bodies. While this makes the mushrooms themselves highly toxic, it allows us to harvest the radiation from the ground, effectively cleaning the earth. It is a slow, patient form of healing that reminds us that nature has a way of balancing the scales, even when we tip them toward catastrophe. The resilience of these fungi in the face of invisible, silent killers tells us something profound about the tenacity of life. We often think of life as a fragile thing that requires a narrow Goldilocks zone to survive, not too hot, not too cold, and free of toxins. But the mushrooms of Chernobyl prove that life is actually an aggressive, adaptable force that will find a way to eat whatever the universe throws at it. They remind us that even in our darkest hours and in our most ruined places, there is a biological blueprint for recovery. As we look at the black mold growing in the heart of a nuclear reactor, we aren't just seeing a parasite. We are seeing the vanguard of a resilient future, a silent witness to the fact that even death rays can be turned into the breath of life. In our modern world, we are haunted by the immortal ghost of plastic, a material designed to last for centuries that we often use for only a few minutes. For decades, we believed that nature had no answer for the complex chemical bonds of synthetic polymers. But in the dense rainforests of Ecuador, scientists discovered a humble fungus named Pestalozchips microspora that did something impossible. It ate polyurethane. This mushroom doesn't just grow on plastic. It treats it as a primary food source, breaking down the tough molecular chains even in environments without oxygen, like the bottom of a landfill. It is a biological breakthrough that suggests the Earth is already evolving to deal with the mess we've made. Have you ever considered that the solution to our greatest environmental crisis might not be a new machine, but a microscopic spore waiting in the dirt? The secret to this incredible digestive power lies in the unique enzymes that fungi produce. Because mushrooms live by absorbing their environment, they have spent millions of years perfecting a chemical toolkit that allows them to dissolve almost anything. When a fungus encounters a substance like crude oil or toxic waste, it releases extracellular enzymes that act like molecular scissors, snipping apart the long, stubborn chains of hydrocarbons. In the aftermath of devastating oil spills, researchers have used oyster mushrooms to clean contaminated soil. Within weeks, the mushrooms transform the black, life-killing sludge into a thriving mound of white mycelium, eventually sprouting healthy, edible mushrooms that contain no traces of the oil. They are the ultimate alchemists, turning poison into protein and death into life. This process, known as mycoremediation, is changing the way we think about industrial cleanup. Traditional methods of removing toxins often involve digging and dumping, simply moving the problem from one place to another, or using harsh chemicals that cause further damage. Fungi offer a green alternative that is both decentralized and low-cost. We are now seeing projects where mycobuns, long tubes filled with straw and mushroom spores, are placed in polluted waterways to filter out heavy metals, dyes from textile factories, and even pharmaceutical runoff. The fungus acts as a sophisticated living filter, trapping the toxins within its structure and, in many cases, breaking them down into harmless base elements. It is a patient, silent labor that restores the balance of the ecosystem one molecule at a time. But the recycling genius of fungi goes beyond just cleaning up our mistakes. It also involves the natural upcycling of the forest itself. Fungi are the primary decomposers of lignin, the incredibly tough organic polymer that gives wood its strength. Without fungi, the world's forests would be piled hundreds of feet high with dead trees that refuse to rot. Fungi unlock the nutrients trapped in that dead wood, releasing nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium back into the soil to feed the next generation of plants. They are the gatekeepers of the circle of life, ensuring that nothing is ever truly wasted. When you see a shelf fungus growing on a rotting log, you aren't just seeing decay. You are seeing a high-speed recycling plant in action, powering the future growth of the entire forest. As we look toward a future where sustainability is no longer optional, the lessons of the fungal kingdom are more relevant than ever. We are beginning to realize that we don't need to invent a way to save the planet. We simply need to partner with the organisms that have been doing it for 1 billion years. From eating the plastic in our oceans to neutralizing the oil on our shores, mushrooms are proving to be our most powerful allies in the fight for a clean earth. They remind us that in nature, there is no such thing as waste, only resources in the wrong place. By studying and scaling these fungal solutions, we might finally learn how to live in a closed-loop system, where every end is simply a new beginning. If you look at a jagged mountain peak, it seems like the very definition of permanence, solid, unyielding, and indifferent to life. But even the mightiest granite faces are being slowly dismantled by an organism so small you might need a magnifying glass to see it. Fungi, specifically in their partnership with algae known as lichens, are the primary architects of the Earth's surface. They are the only biological entities capable of biological mining on a global scale. Using a combination of physical pressure and powerful organic acids, they etch themselves into the microscopic cracks of solid rock. They don't just sit on the surface. They eat into it, dissolving the mineral bonds that hold the mountain together. It is a slow-motion demolition that has been running for hundreds of millions of years, turning the barren skeletons of our planet into the fertile skin we call soil. This process is a chemical war of attrition. Fungi produce unique compounds called lichen acids that are specifically designed to break down minerals like calcium, magnesium, and potassium. As the fungal hyphae penetrate the rock, they act like tiny hydraulic jacks. When it rains, the fungus absorbs water and expands, exerting immense pressure that widens the cracks from the inside. When the sun comes out and the fungus dries, it contracts, pulling tiny flakes of stone away from the parent rock. Over centuries, This constant expansion and contraction, paired with chemical dissolution, grinds the hardest stone into fine dust. This dust mixes with decaying organic matter to create the very first layers of topsoil. Without this tireless fungal masonry, the Earth would still be a series of sterile, rocky islands, and the lush forests we see today would never have found a place to take root. The scale of this earth-moving operation is staggering. It is estimated that fungi and lichens break down billions of tons of rock every year, releasing essential minerals into the global ecosystem. These minerals don't just stay in the soil. They are washed into rivers and eventually into the oceans, where they provide the building blocks for the shells of marine life and the skeletons of coral reefs. In a very real sense, the chemistry of our oceans is dictated by the appetite of fungi on the mountaintops. It's a profound example of the butterfly effect in geology. A microscopic thread of mycelium deep in a crack of a cliff in the Himalayas is contributing to the health of a dolphin in the Pacific. It reminds us that no part of our planet is truly isolated, and the smallest inhabitants often carry the heaviest workloads. What's even more remarkable is the resilience of these stone eaters. Lichens can survive in the most extreme environments on Earth, from the sub-zero deserts of Antarctica to the scorching volcanic rocks of the equator. They can be completely dehydrated until they are as brittle as glass, only to wake up and resume their work within minutes of receiving a single drop of water. This durability has made them a subject of intense study for space agencies. In experiments conducted on the International Space Station, lichens were exposed to the vacuum of space, extreme UV radiation, and massive temperature swings for weeks. When they were brought back to Earth, they weren't just alive, they were still capable of photosynthesizing and breaking down rock. They are the ultimate survivalists, built to outlast the very mountains they inhabit. As we face the challenge of desertification and soil depletion in the modern world, these fungal architects may hold the key to our survival. We are beginning to explore bioweathering as a way to speed up the creation of fertile land in areas that have been stripped of their nutrients. By reintroducing specific fungal and lichen species to barren landscapes, we can kickstart the natural process of soil formation, turning dust back into life-sustaining earth. It's a lesson in patience and perspective. Humans tend to think in years and decades, but the fungus thinks in eons. By aligning ourselves with their slow, rhythmic work, we can learn how to build a world that is as enduring as the stone and as vibrant as the forest. The mountains may be tall, but the fungi are the ones who truly hold the power to reshape the world. For as long as humans have walked the earth, we have looked at the sudden, overnight appearance of mushrooms with a mixture of awe and suspicion. Before we had the tools of modern science to explain the sprawling mycelium beneath our feet, we turned to myth and legend to make sense of these children of the rain. Perhaps the most iconic of these legends is the fairy ring, a near-perfect circle of mushrooms that seemingly manifests from nowhere in a grassy field. In English, Celtic, and Scandinavian folklore, these circles were believed to be the dancing grounds of elves and fairies. It was said that if a human dared to step inside the ring, they might be forced to dance until they collapsed from exhaustion or be transported to the spirit realm forever. These stories weren't just whimsical tales. They were a way for our ancestors to respect the mysterious and often dangerous boundary between the domestic world and the untamed power of nature. From a scientific perspective, the magic of the fairy ring is a beautiful display of geometry in nature. It all begins with a single spore that germinates and starts growing mycelium outward in every direction at an equal rate. As the fungus consumes the organic matter in the soil, it moves away from the depleted center, creating an ever-expanding circle. When the conditions are right, the fruiting bodies, the mushrooms, pop up at the outer edge of this growth zone. This creates the circular formation we see on the surface. Some fairy rings have been documented to be hundreds of years old and hundreds of feet wide, expanding year after year like the ripples in a pond. While we now understand the biology, knowing that a single organism is drawing a perfect circle in the grass doesn't make the sight any less enchanting. It's a reminder that nature has a built-in sense of order and symmetry that often looks like art. Beyond the European fairy rings, mushrooms have held a sacred place in the spiritual lives of indigenous cultures across the globe. In the high mountains of Siberia, the Amanita muscaria, the famous red mushroom with white spots, was used by shamans to enter a trance state and commune with the spirits. Some historians even suggest that the imagery of Santa Claus, with his red and white suit and flying reindeer, may have roots in these ancient Siberian rituals. Reindeer are known to seek out and eat these mushrooms, and shamans would often dress in colors mimicking the fungus. Similarly, in Mesoamerica, the Aztecs referred to certain mushrooms as teonanacatl, or the flesh of the gods. These weren't seen as mere food, but as a bridge to a higher consciousness, used in religious ceremonies to seek guidance, heal the sick, and understand the cosmos. The folklore surrounding mushrooms often serves as a warning, reflecting the dual nature of the fungal kingdom. In many cultures, mushrooms are associated with both life and death, or fertility and decay. In ancient Rome, they were called the food of the gods, but they were also the preferred tool for political assassinations. The Emperor Claudius was famously poisoned with a mushroom dish. This darker side of mushroom lore persists in the way we name them: Death Cap, Destroying Angel, and Dead Man's Fingers. These names reveal a deep-seated human fear of the invisible power that mushrooms possess. They are the only food that can either save your life or end it in a single bite. And that high-stakes reality has cemented their place in our ghost stories and cautionary tales for generations. Today, we are seeing a modern revival of fungal folklore through the lens of science and mycophilia. We may no longer believe in dancing elves, but we are increasingly fascinated by the magic of the mycelial network. The Wood Wide Web has become a modern myth of sorts, a story of universal connectivity that resonates with our digital age. We look to mushrooms as symbols of resilience and rebirth, representing the idea that even out of the rot of the old world, something new and beautiful can grow. As we continue to bridge the gap between ancient superstition and modern biology, we find that the truth about mushrooms is often more fantastic than the legends. They remain the silent, mysterious neighbors of the human race, inviting us to look closer at the soil and wonder what other secrets are waiting to sprout. When we think of mushrooms in the kitchen, we often picture the physical cap and stem, but the true impact of the fungal kingdom on human cuisine is largely invisible. Fungi are nature's premier alchemists, capable of transforming simple ingredients into complex masterpieces through the power of fermentation. Without a very specific type of microscopic fungus yeast, our culinary history would be unrecognizable. Yeast is the engine behind the rise of a loaf of bread, turning sugars into carbon dioxide bubbles that create that soft, airy texture we crave. It is also the biological force that turns grape juice into wine and grain into beer. For thousands of years, humans have partnered with these invisible fungi, treating them almost like domesticated livestock. We provide them with sugar and warmth, and in return, they provide us with the foundations of human civilization. It is no exaggeration to say that without fungi, the dinner tables of the world would be remarkably empty and silent. Beyond the world of baking and brewing, fungi are the secret architects of umami, the elusive fifth taste that translates from Japanese as pleasant savory taste. This deep, mouth-watering flavor is a signal to our brains that a food is rich in proteins and amino acids. Mushrooms are naturally packed with glutamate, the molecule responsible for this sensation. When you sear a portobello or simmer a dried shiitake, you are releasing a chemical profile that mimics meat so closely it can trick the palate. This is why mushrooms have become the holy grail for plant-based cooking. But it isn't just about the mushrooms themselves. Fungal fermentation is what gives us soy sauce, miso, and tempeh. In these processes, fungi break down complex proteins into smaller, more flavorful components, creating a depth of taste that time and heat alone could never achieve. One of the most fascinating examples of fungal culinary genius is found in the world of fine cheeses. If you've ever enjoyed the creamy tang of a brie or the sharp blue veins of a gorgonzola, you have mycelium to thank. These are specific molds fungi that are intentionally introduced to the cheese to digest it from the inside out. As the mold grows, it releases enzymes that break down fats and proteins, changing the texture from a hard block of curd into a soft, spreadable delicacy. The bloom on the outside of a camembert is actually a living forest of white fungal mycelium. It is a controlled decay, a sophisticated dance between the cheesemaker and the fungus to reach a perfect point of ripeness. It challenges our modern obsession with sterile food, reminding us that some of our most prized delicacies are actually the result of life thriving in the most unexpected places. The fungal kingdom also produces some of the most expensive and sought-after ingredients on the planet: truffles. Unlike standard mushrooms that pop up above ground, truffles grow entirely in the dark, tangled among the roots of oak and hazelnut trees. Because they cannot be easily farmed and must be hunted by trained dogs or pigs, they have become the diamonds of the kitchen. Their scent is legendary, a complex, musky aroma that is designed by the fungus to attract animals so they will eat the truffle and spread its spores. For humans, this scent has become synonymous with luxury. The chemistry of a truffle is so potent that even a few shavings can transform a simple pasta dish into an extraordinary sensory experience. It is a testament to the power of fungi to create high-value complexity out of nothing but soil, water, and tree roots. As we look to the future of food, fungi are stepping into the spotlight as a sustainable solution to global hunger. Mycoprotein meat alternatives grown from fungal vats is becoming a massive industry. These fungi can produce high-quality protein using a fraction of the land, water, and energy required by cattle. They grow at an incredible speed, doubling their mass in hours rather than months. We are essentially moving from the age of the farm to the age of the mycofactory, where we can grow nutritious, flavorful food in vertical tanks anywhere in the world. The same ancient processes that gave us our first loaf of bread are now being scaled up to feed a planet of 8 billion people. The alchemists of the soil have become the providers of the future, proving once again that the smallest organisms often hold the keys to our greatest challenges. If you were to step back in time to 1928, the world was a very different place. A simple scratch from a rose thorn or a bout of strep throat could be a death sentence. That changed when Alexander Fleming noticed a patch of mold Penicillium rubens growing on a petri dish and killing the bacteria around it. This wasn't just a lucky accident. It was the discovery of the first miracle drug, penicillin. Fungi have been engaged in chemical warfare with bacteria for over 1 billion years, and in that time, they have developed the most sophisticated molecular weapons on the planet. When we take fungal-based medicine, we are essentially borrowing the survival strategies that mushrooms perfected in the mud. Today, it's estimated that over 40% of all modern pharmaceuticals are derived from fungi, ranging from cholesterol-lowering statins to the immunosuppressants that make organ transplants possible. We aren't just eating mushrooms. We are living longer lives because of them. The frontier of the mushroom pharmacy is currently focused on the incredible reishi and turkey tail mushrooms. In traditional Eastern medicine, these have been called the mushrooms of immortality for centuries. But modern science is finally catching up to the folklore. These fungi are packed with complex sugars called beta-glucans, which act as a training manual for the human immune system. They don't just boost immunity blindly. They modulate it, teaching our natural killer cells how to identify and attack viruses and even tumor cells more effectively. In Japan and China, Extracts from the turkey tail mushroom are already used as an approved adjunct to chemotherapy, helping the body recover from the harshness of radiation while keeping the immune system's defenses high. It's a bridge between ancient wisdom and cutting-edge oncology, showing us that the forest floor might be our most advanced laboratory. One of the most fascinating characters in this medical saga is the lion's mane mushroom. Looking more like a white, shaggy waterfall than a traditional capped fungus, lion's mane contains two unique compounds, hericenones and erinachines. These are among the few substances in the world that can cross the blood-brain barrier and stimulate the production of nerve growth factor, NGF. In simpler terms, this mushroom can actually help repair and regrow damaged neurons. Research is currently underway to see if lion's mane can be used to treat neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Imagine a future where we don't just manage the symptoms of brain aging, but we use fungal neurological fertilizer to keep our minds sharp and our memories intact. It turns the idea of brain food into a literal biological reality. The pharmacy doesn't stop at physical health. It is also venturing into the depths of the human psyche. We are currently living through what many call the psychedelic renaissance. Compounds like psilocybin, found in certain species of mushrooms, are being studied at prestigious institutions like Johns Hopkins and Imperial College London. Unlike traditional antidepressants that often just numb the emotions, psilocybin appears to reset the brain's neural pathways. It allows patients suffering from treatment-resistant depression, PTSD, and end-of-life anxiety to break free from repetitive, negative thought patterns. Participants often describe the experience as a biological reboot for the soul. While the legal and social conversations are still evolving, the clinical data suggests that these mushrooms may offer the most significant breakthrough in mental health treatment in over half a century. As we look toward the future, the potential for fungal medicine seems limitless. We are now using CRISPR and other genetic tools to milk fungi for rare compounds that were previously too difficult to harvest. We are discovering fungi that can fight superbugs bacteria that have become resistant to all our current antibiotics. The fungal kingdom is a massive, untapped library of chemical solutions, and we have only read the first few pages. By protecting the biodiversity of our forests, we aren't just saving nature. We are protecting the medicine chest of our children. The next great cure for a global pandemic or a chronic disease is likely already growing in the damp shade of an old-growth forest, waiting for us to find it, study it, and respect the power it holds. In the scientific community, we often talk about indicator species, creatures that act like a canary in a coal mine, signaling the health of an entire ecosystem. While we usually look to birds or frogs, some of the most sensitive barometers of our changing planet are actually fungi. Because mushrooms lack a protective skin or bark, they are in direct, intimate contact with the atmosphere and the soil. They feel the slightest shift in temperature, the smallest change in moisture, and the rising acidity of the earth. In many parts of the world, the fruiting dates of mushrooms when they pop up above ground have shifted by weeks over the last few decades. This isn't just a quirk of nature. It is a loud, biological alarm bell. When the fungi change their rhythm, it means the very foundation of the forest's life cycle is being pulled out of sync, potentially leading to a trophic mismatch where the insects and animals that rely on them are left behind. One of the most concerning impacts of climate change is how it affects the carbon bank of the soil. Fungi are the primary managers of the world's terrestrial carbon. Mycorrhizal fungi, which we discussed as the Wood Wide Web, help trees lock carbon underground in exchange for sugars. However, as the planet warms, certain types of decomposer fungi are becoming hyperactive. They are breaking down organic matter faster than ever before, releasing stored CO2 and methane back into the atmosphere at an accelerated rate. It creates a dangerous feedback loop. More heat leads to more fungal activity, which leads to more greenhouse gases, which leads to even more heat. By monitoring the respiration rates of forest fungi, scientists can now predict with startling accuracy how much carbon leakage we can expect from our soils in the coming century. But it's not all bad news. Fungi are also showing us the path to resilience. In areas prone to extreme drought, certain species of fungi have been observed shielding their host plants. These drought-tolerant fungi can wrap their mycelium so tightly around plant roots that they act like a biological sponge, holding on to every molecule of water and preventing the roots from drying out. They can even trigger the plant to close its stomata, the tiny pores in its leaves, to conserve moisture. Researchers are now looking at ways to inoculate industrial crops with these climate-hardy fungal strains. If we can partner with the right mushrooms, we might be able to grow food in regions that were previously thought to be lost to desertification, turning the silent sentinels of the forest into the guardians of our food security. The migration of fungi is also telling us a story of a shifting world. Species that were once found only in the warm tropics are now being spotted in temperate zones, creeping northward as the winters grow milder. While this can be a beautiful display of adaptation, it also brings risks. Fungal pathogens that once stayed in the jungle are now reaching agricultural heartlands and even human populations that have no natural immunity to them. This fungal migration is a physical map of global warming in action. By tracking the spread of spores through the air and soil, mycologists are creating a real-time heat map of how the climate is reshaping the biological borders of our world. It's a reminder that the environment isn't just changing out there. It is changing the very composition of the air we breathe and the soil we walk on. Ultimately, the fungi are teaching us that the earth is a single, interconnected organism. We cannot change the temperature of the air without affecting the mycelium in the dark, and we cannot affect the mycelium without changing the fate of the trees. These silent sentinels are offering us a wealth of data, if only we are willing to listen. They remind us that the planet's health is measured not just in the height of the glaciers or the depth of the oceans, but in the microscopic threads beneath a single leaf. As we work to stabilize our climate, the fungal kingdom stands as both a warning of what we might lose and a blueprint for how we might survive. They have outlasted 5 mass extinctions. They know how to endure. Our task is to learn from their wisdom before the seasons shift too far to return. As we look for ways to reduce our carbon footprint, we are beginning to realize that the future of construction might not be found in a steel mill or a concrete plant, but in a petri dish. Mycelium, the root-like structure of fungi, is being hailed as the plastic of the 21st century. By feeding mushroom spores organic waste like sawdust, hemp stalks, or corn husks, we can grow solid materials into almost any shape imaginable. In a matter of days, the mycelium weaves a dense, incredibly strong web around the waste, binding it together into a structural composite. Once the growth is complete, the material is heat-treated to stop the fungus from growing further, resulting in a product that is lightweight, fire-resistant, and stronger pound for pound than concrete. We are moving from a world where we make things to a world where we grow them, turning our buildings into extensions of the natural world. The versatility of this fungal foam is staggering. Unlike traditional plastics or styrofoam, which take thousands of years to break down, mycelium-based packaging is entirely biodegradable. You could literally take the protective casing from your new laptop, break it into pieces, and toss it into your garden. Within weeks, it would turn into nutrient-rich compost. Major global retailers are already testing mycelium packaging as a replacement for synthetic foams, recognizing that the cradle-to-grave life cycle of a product should include a plan for its return to the earth. But it goes beyond just boxes. Designers are now creating high-end furniture, acoustic wall tiles, and even myco-leather for the fashion industry. This fungal leather is breathable, water-resistant, and carries a carbon footprint that is a tiny fraction of traditional bovine leather. It's a revolution in ethics and aesthetics, proving that luxury doesn't have to come at the cost of the planet. Perhaps the most ambitious application of this technology is in the realm of living architecture. Architects are experimenting with myco-creations, large-scale structures, built entirely from mushroom bricks. In 2014, a 40-foot-tall tower called the Hifi was built in the courtyard of MoMA PS1 in New York. It was constructed from 10,000 compostable mushroom bricks and stood through rain and wind for an entire summer before being dismantled and composted. This experiment proved that we can build functional, beautiful urban structures that leave zero trace behind. Imagine a future where city outskirts are home to growth factories, instead of smoky industrial zones, places where we harvest our homes from the soil and return them to the Pathe the Umland to the Fa-Falaz, earth when their purpose is served. It's a vision of a circular city that breathes and decays in harmony with the seasons. The internal structure of mycelium also makes it a world-class insulator. Because the fungal threads create millions of tiny air pockets as they grow, the resulting material is exceptionally good at trapping heat and dampening sound. In a world facing an energy crisis, growing our insulation could be a game changer for green building standards. Furthermore, mycelium is naturally flame retardant. While synthetic insulation often requires toxic chemical coatings to meet fire codes, mushrooms have evolved natural defenses against heat. When exposed to fire, the outer layer of a mycelium brick simply chars, creating a protective barrier that prevents the core from igniting. It is a safety feature designed by nature over millions of years, offered to us as a gift for our modern habitats. As we stand on the edge of this mycelium age, we are forced to rethink our relationship with the materials that surround us. For the last century, we have lived in a world of dead materials, refined oil, crushed rock, and smelted ore. But the fungi are inviting us back into a partnership with life. By choosing to build with mycelium, we are choosing a path of radical sustainability. We are recognizing that the earth provides everything we need to thrive, provided we are clever enough to work with its systems rather than against them. The humble mushroom, once seen as a sign of decay in a building, may soon become the very foundation upon which our future cities are raised. From the insulation in our walls to the shoes on our feet, the future is being woven by a silent, white web of life. In the kingdom of fungi, beauty is often a warning. Some of the most visually stunning organisms on the planet are also the most lethal, possessing a chemical potency that can shut down human organs in a matter of hours. Take, for instance, the Amanita phylloides, chillingly known as the death cap, to an untrained eye. It looks like a mundane, edible field mushroom. It has a pleasant, honey-like smell and is said to actually taste delicious. However, it contains alpha-amanidin, a toxin so powerful that a single cap is enough to kill a healthy adult. This toxin is a biological stealth bomber. It doesn't cause immediate pain. Instead, it waits until it reaches the liver, where it begins to systematically dismantle the body's ability to produce proteins. By the time the victim feels ill, the damage is often irreversible. It is a high-stakes reminder that in nature, friendly appearances can be a mask for the ultimate predator. The biology of these poisons is a fascinating study in evolutionary defense. Why would a mushroom need to be so toxic? Unlike an animal, a mushroom cannot run away from a predator, and unlike a plant, it doesn't have thorns or bark. Its only defense is chemistry. Interestingly, many of these toxins aren't actually designed to kill humans. We are just collateral damage. The poisons likely evolved to deter specific insects or gastropods like slugs that would otherwise devour the mushroom's reproductive cap before it can release its spores. Over millions of years, these chemical recipes became so refined that they inadvertently became lethal to much larger mammals. It is a biological arms race where the mushroom has stayed one step ahead of the hungry world around it, creating molecules so complex that they baffle even our most advanced modern toxicology labs. One of the most striking examples of this beautiful danger is the Amanita muscaria, the iconic red and white spotted mushroom found in storybooks and video games. While not usually as lethal as the death cap, it is highly toxic and hallucinogenic. It contains ibotenic acid and muscimol, compounds that play a chaotic symphony on the human nervous system. Ingestion leads to a state of Alice in Wonderland syndrome, where objects appear much larger or smaller than they are, accompanied by profound confusion and physical agitation. In the Victorian era, these mushrooms were sometimes crushed into saucers of milk to kill flies, giving them the nickname fly agaric. They serve as a vivid symbol of the fungal kingdom's duality. They are the most recognizable, whimsical shapes in the forest, yet they carry a chemical payload that demands absolute respect and distance. The danger is further complicated by the existence of lookalikes. For every delicious edible mushroom, there is often a destroying angel or a false morel that looks nearly identical to the naked eye. This has led to a phenomenon known as mycophobia, a deep-seated fear of mushrooms that persists in many Western cultures. In some species, the toxins are cumulative, meaning you might eat them once and feel fine, but the poisons build up in your system over time until they reach a lethal threshold. This biological complexity is why foraging is considered an expert skill. The fungi are masters of mimicry and chemical variation. A mushroom that is safe in one part of the world might have a toxic twin in another. They force us to slow down, to observe with precision, and to realize that a lack of knowledge in the forest can have the highest possible price. Despite their reputation as killers, these toxic mushrooms are vital to the ecosystem. Many of them form the same mycorrhizal bonds we discussed earlier, helping trees grow and forests thrive. Their toxicity is simply their way of ensuring they can finish their job of spore dispersal. Furthermore, scientists are now looking at these deadly toxins as potential surgical tools. The same alpha-amanitin that destroys a liver is being studied for its ability to target and kill cancer cells without harming the surrounding healthy tissue. By attaching the toxin to an antibody that only recognizes tumors, we could turn nature's most efficient poison into a precision-guided cure. It is the ultimate testament to the fungal kingdom. Even in its most dangerous forms, it holds the potential to teach us, to heal us, and to push the boundaries of what we thought possible. As we stand on the threshold of becoming a multiplanetary species, we face a daunting reality. Space is sterile, harsh, and utterly indifferent to human life. To survive on the Moon or Mars, we cannot simply bring our world with us in metal boxes. We must learn to grow an ecosystem from scratch. This is where the fungal kingdom enters the space race. NASA is currently exploring mycoarchitecture, the concept of sending lightweight dormant fungal spores to Mars that, upon arrival, would be mixed with local water and fed on the Martian regalia. Within weeks, these spores would grow into dense, structural shells, literally growing our habitats out of the red dust. These fungal buildings wouldn't just be shelters. They would be living membranes, capable of self-healing if struck by a micrometeorite and providing natural insulation against the extreme Martian cold. We are learning that to reach the stars, we don't just need rockets. We need the ancient adaptive power of the mycelium. The challenge of living on another planet isn't just about shelter, it's about soil. Mars is covered in perchlorates, toxic salts that make the ground deadly to earthly plants. However, as we learned in the ruins of Chernobyl and oil-slicked coastlines, fungi are the world's greatest detoxifiers. Scientists are developing pioneer fungal strains designed to thrive in Martian-like conditions. These fungi would be tasked with the first stage of terraforming, breaking down the toxic chemicals in the Martian soil and replacing them with organic nutrients. They would act as the biological vanguard, preparing the ground so that the first greenhouses can take root. By partnering with fungi, we aren't just bringing seeds to Mars. We are bringing the entire machinery of life cycles, ensuring that the first footprints on the red planet are followed by the first blossoms of a new garden. In the enclosed environments of long-term space travel, resources are the ultimate currency. Every breath of air and drop of water must be recycled with 100% efficiency. Fungi are being integrated into closed-loop life support systems, cells to handle the waste of space travelers. In these systems, fungal bioreactors consume the organic waste produced by the crew, everything from food scraps to carbon dioxide, and convert it back into oxygen and edible protein. Some researchers are even looking at fungal computers or biological sensors that could monitor the air quality of a spacecraft, using the mycelium's natural sensitivity to chemicals to alert the crew to leaks or contaminants faster than any electronic sensor. In the void of space, the mushroom becomes the ultimate companion, a recycler, a provider, and a silent guardian of the ship's breath. Beyond the physical, the fungal future also touches on the survival of the human spirit during the long, dark years of interstellar travel. The psychedelic renaissance we discussed in Chapter 11 has profound implications for deep space missions. Astronauts facing the extreme isolation, confinement, and existential dread of being millions of miles from home may find psychological relief in fungal-based therapies. These compounds could help maintain mental resilience, foster a sense of connection to the Earth they left behind, and prevent the space madness that has long been a staple of science fiction. Furthermore, the act of gardening fungi, watching life sprout and thrive in a sterile environment, provides a vital sensory connection to nature that is essential for human well-being. We are realizing that to keep our bodies healthy in space, we must also keep our connection to the fungal roots of our home planet alive. As we conclude this journey through the kingdom of fungi, it's clear that these organisms are far more than just forest floor scavengers. They are the architects of our past, the healers of our present, and the pioneers of our future. From the first lichen that dissolved a rock to the first mycelium brick grown on Mars, fungi represent the indomitable spirit of life, the force that finds a way to thrive in the dark, to turn death into life, and to connect all things in a single, breathing web. The next time you see a humble mushroom poking through the grass, don't just walk past it. Look at it as a cousin, a teacher, and a glimpse of the technology that will one day carry us to the stars. The world beneath our feet is a gateway to the universe, and we are only just beginning to walk through it.